missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I have a new client. I've never done her hair before and she is wanting to go overall blonde. And a little bit about her color history is she's been glossing her hair, I believe, with like a 1 demi level 1, and that's what you're seeing in the back part of her hair, and then she's been bleaching that front part. And she wants to go overall just as blonde as possible. So I have prepped her hair with some K18, that like prep mist that helps protect the hair. And now I'm going to be going in with the Schwarzkopf color remover. And I'm using the color remover before we do any type of bleaching to kind of see what we're working with, since she's been layering such a dark demi-tone all over her hair in the back where all the black is. So since we are going to be doing this as a solid application, I pre-sectioned her hair. I wanted to section out the bleach areas versus the dark areas because we're going to be doing the color remover on those dark areas first. And the reason why I'm doing the color remover again is to just kind of see what we're working with. Sometimes when you put like a demi gloss over the hair, you don't really know what levels the hair was lifted to underneath or what really lays underneath all of that demi. So it's going to show me how light her hair really is underneath all of this. So I'm going in and I start in the back because I want to make sure that the back, if it seems to be a little bit ready before the front, I can rinse that out. So I like to start in the back, and I'm taking about a 1/4 inch of a section and trying to really saturate. She has about a 1/4 inch of like regrowth that is completely virgin, so I'm not trying to put the color remover on those areas at all. I want to try to avoid them and really just saturate on the areas where she has the demi gloss that's been layered over time. And I'm just going in and trying to put this on as quickly as possible, and then we're gonna let that sit for the full processing time before we rinse everything out. Another reason why I like to use a color remover before going into bleach for this type of correction is because I find that the color remover gives me a good idea of where some areas might be lighter and some areas are darker. And so I'll adjust either my strength of developer or I'll adjust my technique as far as how much saturation I put on each section. And then the other reason is because I feel like it keeps the integrity of the hair. When you do a color remover, it is a lot more gentle than going in with bleach. And so I opted to do the color remover because we are going to be lightening her hair, and I do want to save the integrity of her hair as much as possible so that we can get a really good clean lift. And again, I am trying to avoid any of her previously bleached areas because they are already so light. It doesn't really need any color remover on those areas, only on the areas that are darker. So once the color remover was pretty much done processing, right now I am going in and saturating another layer of color remover. So I have already rinsed out the first round and I have already applied a second round of color remover. And you know, the great thing about this color remover is that it's so gentle that it really doesn't feel like it's damaging the hair as much as bleach would. So it's pretty safe to go in with another round because I felt like the demi in her hair was pretty stubborn and was pretty dark as well too, because normally this color remover, because I mixed it with developer, it on virgin hair could even lift the hair like about a level or half a level. And after that first round of color remover, it really was not budging much, so that's why I opted to do another round of it. And then once I did the second round, you could really see a lot of the color build up on her hair and all of that lift out a little bit more. So this is what her hair looked like after the color remover. You can see it's still really black, and then strangely there's like a band of light, like a light band there, probably because that area, maybe the previous hairdresser used a different formula. I'm not really sure, but because I saw the band and now I can visibly see it since the color remover has shown me what level, like that one area is a little bit lighter than the rest. When I'm going in right now with my lightener, I am in the dark areas that are pretty much still black, even after the color remover. I am saturating in those areas really well, and then in the band, I'm just kind of like feathering up the lightener. You can see I'm doing the ends and then kind of trying to avoid that middle band just for this part, because I want the most amount of strength of the lightener to really work in the dark areas. And as I'm doing this too, I'm avoiding the root because the root is virgin and we know that that's going to lift very fast. And so I'm just trying to focus on what the darkest area is and what I feel is going to take the longest to lift out. So for this application, I started off with 10 volume and then I bumped it up to 20 volume. And the reason why I'm not using anything above 20 is because I feel like the hair honestly doesn't need it. I feel like 20 volume is really good at being steady and lifting the hair really well. And on top of that, I am using the Danger Jones powder lightener that has 9+ levels of lift and bonder in it, which is going to help with the integrity of her hair as it lifts this dark color out. And you know, even though I knew she had like a level 1 demi all over in the back, I was still honestly pretty surprised that the color remover didn't really budge in certain areas. Like certain areas were still pretty black in my opinion, and I was actually really shocked at that part. So that is also why I am really focusing on those areas, because I want to try and even out this canvas as much as possible, because the more work I do in the beginning, the easier it will be later, especially when I tone her hair and we do multiple sessions on it. It's really difficult if the hair is different levels, because you have to be careful in the areas that are a little bit lighter. So now that I've pretty much applied the lightener onto the mids and ends on the darker areas, now that is when I'm going to be going in and hitting the root of everything. So that includes the areas that have been previously bleached, and I'm going in with this part just 20 volume and that Danger Jones powder lightener, and applying it just like I would a lightener retouch, like a bleach and tone. And then I am also applying the root to the back areas. And as I'm going in through these areas in the back here, I am going and seeing if there's any areas like that mid band that needs a little extra lightener, because again, in that first application, I didn't really saturate too much in those areas because I knew I was going to go back in like I am right now, and that would be the opportunity for me to apply the lightener in those areas to kind of even out that canvas. And it kind of gives it room to, like the dark areas, room to catch up to that band, because that band was lighter. Now, I could have definitely used a different developer, like I could have used like maybe even a 5 volume in the band area, but I just found that using 20 volume, the same developer, and then just altering the lift and where it was going to lift with my saturation was just going to be a faster way of doing it. But there are so many different ways that I could have approached this. I just felt that this would be the best for what we had going on. So after this whole application, I'm just going to be letting her process at room temperature. I am not putting any type of heat on this, especially because this is a full color correction. I would rather have it lift low and slow than just kind of be blasted with heat just to kind of save the integrity, especially because I know we're going to be doing another session down the line, and I just want to make sure that her hair is in great shape so that we can lighten it for another round. So after her processing, I would say after I was done applying, she probably processed for about like 20, maybe 30 minutes or so. After that, I could see that the lightener was kind of, I wouldn't say it was like puffing up too much, but just a little bit, to where I felt like it wasn't working or wasn't very strong anymore. So right now I'm kind of squeegeeing off the old product, and this part can get a little messy, so I prefer to do this at the bowl, and I'm pretty much just like wiping off the old lightener, because I feel like if it at a certain point, once the lightener is sitting on there for a while, it kind of stops having strength to it. So I'm applying fresh lightener, and again, just using 20 volume in those areas. So I'm just kind of squeezing off those areas that are a little bit warmer, and then applying fresh lightener to again even out the lift a little bit. But overall, I was actually very impressed with how fast her hair was lightening up, and her hair felt fine still at this point. I felt like it could still take a little bit more. Now, if her hair did feel like it was getting a bit weaker, which it wasn't, but if it did, I definitely would skip this part. I wouldn't even add extra lightener, but her hair felt totally fine. It was very strong, and I felt like it could take a little bit more, so that is why I am putting extra lightener on those mids and ends that just look a little bit warmer and look like the lightener was kind of like dying out as far as the power. So here's what her hair looked like before the toner. So now I'm going to be going in with a demi permanent gloss toner. And for the root, since her root did lift up lighter than the ends, which I expected, honestly, considering where we were at, I toned her with a level 6 NB, which is going to be a warmer brown at a level 6. And then for the mids and ends, we did a level 7 with some clear natural, and that kind of just helped tone out a lot of that warmth on the ends. We didn't want to have anything that was going to be too dark, and so that's why I added a little bit of clear, because I wanted something that was going to control the warmth, but again, not be too dark, because we were going to do another round to get her a little bit lighter for the next time. So I just did something to kind of get her by until her next appointment, and just help tone out the warmth and give her a look that looked a bit on the natural side. And with that green piece that you see, I am going to be rooting with the same formula on the root area, and then I do apply some pink off camera while the hair was wet quickly. Like I just used like a semi-permanent, I believe I used like the Danger Jones cheap date, which is their like light pastel pink, and I just put it in my hand and put it over the green areas to quickly tone. I feel like that was okay, because I wasn't wanting the pink to really stay. I wasn't really concerned about longevity of the semi-permanent. What I was more concerned about was I needed something that was going to help just tone out the green, cut the green a little bit really fast, and then also fade out really fast, because our goal wasn't really to keep the creative color on the side there. It was really just to help cancel it out. And you know, green is really stubborn, so after this appointment, she did keep refreshing the pink onto those green areas until it faded out completely neutral. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. Honestly, I was very happy with the result. Her hair still felt really good considering how much lightening we had done. You can see the pop of like pastel pink in there that helped cancel out that green, but it came out really pretty. I feel like it is a nice like lighter to medium brown. It's still on the warm side, but honestly, next time when she comes in, her hair is healthy enough for us to lighten it one more time and see from there how light it really can get. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.